David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, breaking news, the severe weather threat right now. More storms and heavy rain from the Ohio Valley to the south. 20 million Americans on alert for damaging winds, large hail, and flash flooding. And a new tropical system taking aim at Hawaii just days after the devastating blow from Hurricane Lala. Our weather team tracking it all. Stunning images as a small plane crashes into the Atlantic Ocean off Boca Raton. Just the tail of the plane visible. The frantic race to save the pilot. Late details coming in tonight. The new North American trade war. The U.S. imposes 50% tariffs on about $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. Canada threatening retaliatory tariffs now. Frightening moments aboard an American Airlines flight. A laptop bursting into flames. A passenger burned. The new images tonight from inside that plane, and we hear from one of the passengers. The urgent search for a woman wanted following the death of her husband, a Massachusetts police officer. An arrest warrant issued, the charges she's now facing. Also breaking tonight, the major development in the Karmelo Anthony case. The 19-year-old found guilty of murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet. The case making national headlines. What a judge has just decided about a new trial. Dramatic rescue. Police break a car window to free 5 dogs in distress trapped in the sweltering heat. Powerhouse duo Serena Williams is heading back to the U.S. Open, and she's teaming up with another tennis superstar. A special honor for Sister Jean, the longtime chaplain and beloved basketball fan, on what would have been her 107th birthday.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Whit Johnson. We begin with the severe storms on the move. 20 million Americans on alert for strong winds, heavy rain, and possible flooding from the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic to parts of the Northeast. The South facing another round of dangerous weather after being slammed just days ago. Scattered storms sweeping across eastern Alabama, lightning flashing across the sky. Lightning also striking these 2 homes in Raleigh, North Carolina, igniting a fire on Friday, destroying this roof. A funnel cloud spotted over Granville, Illinois. And a new tropical system taking aim at Hawaii just days after the devastating blow from Hurricane Lala. Our weather team standing by with the forecast. But first, ABC's Morgan Norwood leads us off tonight.
Tonight, 20 million at risk for severe weather from the Ohio Valley to the south. Parts of the south facing more rain after storm threats earlier this week. Lightning striking these 2 townhomes in Raleigh, North Carolina yesterday, sparking a fire burning through this roof. Firefighters quickly on scene. In South Charlotte, a landscaper and his crew taking cover as the storm intensified.
Wind went crazy and we were like, should we leave? We were thinking about it, and then once the tree fell, we're like, okay, yeah, we're leaving.
And over in Granville, Illinois.
Oh my God.
Wow.
A funnel cloud drawing a crowd. And in Indiana, as the state is still recovering from severe storms almost 2 weeks ago, tens of thousands there still without power. Indiana energy company NIPSCO hit with a class action lawsuit accusing the company of negligence. NIPSCO telling our affiliate WLS they strongly disagree with the allegations and that safety and reliability are fundamental to how we operate. And Hawaii also bracing for a sideswipe from Tropical Storm Moke. The state's still digging out from Hurricane Lala. Thousands there also without power.
And this is actually the second weekend in a row that Hawaii is facing more tropical storm threats. Forecasters say these rare close calls is because El Nino is steering these storms closer to the islands with.
All right, Morgan Norwood, thank you. Let's get right to meteorologist Jeff Smith from our New York station WABC. So, Jeff, where are these storms heading now?
Well, we're watching storms over the Ohio Valley and portions of the south. We're watching one line moving from eastern Ohio into western Pennsylvania. This can contain damaging winds, large hail, severe thunderstorm watch there until 9 p.m. That extends into parts of the Tennessee Valley as well. Another zone there over parts of Arkansas, extending into northwestern portions of Mississippi. There, the big concern is damaging to destructive winds, which could be up to 75 miles per hour in some cases. The flash flood threat, it's a level 2 out of 4 threat for portions of the Delmarva. Could be 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates, causing isolated flooding in those areas. We head out into the Pacific Ocean. Tropical storm Moke going to be moving south of Hawaii, so no, it is not a direct hit on the island. However, on the Big Island, we're going to be looking at upwards of 5 to 10 inches of rain, localized maxima of 15 inches in some of the higher elevations, more like 1 to 3 inches across much of the rest of the Hawaiian Islands. But again, the second time within the past week that the Hawaiian Islands being impacted by a tropical system. Whit?
Yeah, certainly not the news they were looking for. Jeff, we appreciate it. Now to a terrifying close call in Florida, a small plane crashing into the Atlantic Ocean off Boca Raton. Just the tail of the plane visible here, and the frantic efforts by first responders and beachgoers to save the pilot. Here's ABC's Andrew Dymburt.
What the? Tonight, dramatic video showing a small plane crashing off the coast of Florida near Boca Raton. Video from beachgoers showing the plane dropping quickly from the sky before slamming into the Atlantic as people on shore watched helplessly. The woman pilot surviving.
It's pretty incredible. Everyone survived.
The tail of the aircraft still sticking out of the water, visible from shore some hours later.
It seemed like it was a controlled descent into the water.
The FAA says the aircraft is a Piper PA-30, a twin-engine plane, and took off from Fort Myers. It was headed for Bimini in the Bahamas when the pilot declared an emergency. The plane was cleared to land at Boca Raton Airport, about 5 miles inland of where it would end up in the ocean. Crews rushing to the crash site, the Boca Raton Police Marine Unit, along with the Coast Guard, reaching the aircraft where the pilot, the only one on board, was rescued. She was taken to a local hospital as a precaution, according to authorities. The FAA now investigating what caused the mid-air emergency and what sent the plane into the waters of the Atlantic. The tow company says the plane was filled with fuel and removing it from the water quickly is critical to limit any potential environmental impacts. Whit?
Okay, Andrew Dymburt, thank you. Now to the escalating trade war between the U.S. and Canada. President Trump imposing a 50% tariff on Canadian goods, ranging from building materials to hockey sticks. And tonight, Canada's Prime Minister firing back with retaliatory tariffs, what it could mean for consumers already hit with high prices. Here's ABC's Stephen Portnoy.
Tonight, the new North American trade war, as President Trump imposes a 50% tariff on key Canadian exports. Canada walking out of the talks at the 11th hour.
We cannot accept what they've offered, and we will not give what they've asked.
Canada's Prime Minister claiming tonight that his country has been attacked and now vowing to match the U.S. tariffs dollar for dollar.
We're going to hit back.
The new tariffs will impact just 5% of what Canada sends to the U.S., but they're expected to increase the cost of many products Americans buy, ranging from Canadian beer and whiskey to hockey sticks and building materials like cement. The Trump administration citing protections for Canadian dairy farmers and bans on the sale of U.S. alcohol in Canada.
We're moving forward with measures that respond to Canadian retaliation.
The new potential for higher prices for consumers comes just 10 weeks before voters go to the polls. Trump in South Carolina Friday, stumping for Darlene Graham, appointed to her late brother Lindsey's seat in the Senate after his death last month. Graham has Trump's backing in Tuesday's runoff against GOP Congressman Ralph Norman, but she stumbled at this week's debate, unable to answer a question about Taiwan.
I'm not that informed on national security, so...
The president coming to her defense.
She's totally for the military. I mean, she's going to do what the military wants, and really what the president wants. She understands that national security is my thing. I watched that. I thought it was a very honest answer, actually.
Trump's record of picking GOP primary winners has generally been quite strong, but in just the past few weeks, Trump-backed candidates have been defeated by their Republican opponents in Michigan, Tennessee, Minnesota, Florida, and Wyoming. Whit?
All right, Stephen Portnoy at the White House tonight. Thank you. Alarming moments on an American Airlines flight, a laptop bursting into flames, one passenger burned, and what we're hearing tonight from another passenger who was on that plane. Here's ABC's Jaclyn Lee.
Tonight, scary moments aboard an American Airlines flight when a passenger's laptop caught on fire.
I think we have about 4 to 5 passengers that were burned by the laptop.
Firefighters boarding the Airbus A321 as soon as it landed in Dallas.
The flight attendants ran up and they very quickly started yelling code red. That's kind of when my alarm started going off.
Passenger Jessica Ergens was seated 2 rows behind the fire.
I said to the person sitting next to me, "Oh, shoot, his laptop's on fire." And I just remember I just saw the smoke first, and then it all happened really fast, and he was trying to get it get it away from him into the aisle.
She says several passengers tried to put out the flames.
There were two individuals that had their hands in bags of ice, and they were, shaking. They were visibly just very shocked.
American Airlines says only one person needed treatment. Flight attendants eventually sealed the laptop in a thermal containment bag, according to the FAA. Just last month, a packed Swiss Air flight from Zurich to JFK was forced to divert and make an emergency landing in Maine after a headphone charging case got jammed in a seat, overheating and started smoking. In 2024, another American Airbus A321 parked at the gate in San Francisco had to be evacuated after a lithium-ion battery in a passenger's laptop started to smoke.
The FAA says so far this year, there have been at least 58 lithium battery incidents reported on flights that involved smoke, fire, or overheating. The FAA is investigating this most recent incident. Whit.
Alarming incidents. Jaclyn Lee, our thanks to you tonight. Now to the urgent search for a woman in connection with the death of her husband, a Massachusetts police officer. An arrest warrant issued, the charges she's now facing, and authorities say she should be considered armed and dangerous. Here's ABC's Ika Jachi.
Tonight, day 5 of an urgent hunt outside Boston for Karen Solomon, a woman who spent her career helping police officers. Tonight, she's wanted on a warrant for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon with serious bodily injury following the death of her husband. Kurt Solomon spent 31 years on the Worcester police force, and his fellow officers finding him dead at home Tuesday, killed, police say, by a sharp object.
There were other people involved in the house as well, but right now the Worcester Police Department is actively working to find Karen Solomon.
Police releasing this video of Solomon walking near the home in pajama shorts and flip-flops, possibly armed and dangerous, according to police. Tonight, dive teams are back at the Worcester Pond. They've searched all week. The city shutting down parks nearby for the weekend. Still no sign of her. Solomon spent years on the other side of that fight as the founder of First Help, working to prevent suicide among police officers.
It could happen to anybody. They are anybody. They are you, they are me. I have attempted suicide 3 times in my life.
Whit, investigators are now looking into whether there had been any allegations or incidents of domestic violence in the marriage. Whit.
Ika Jachi, thank you. Now to breaking news in a case that's made national headlines and revealed deep divisions in this country. A judge in Texas denying Karmelo Anthony a new trial. The 19-year-old found guilty of murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet. Here's ABC's Alex Prochet with late details just coming in.
Tonight, a judge has denied a request for a new trial in a case that divided a Texas community. Karmelo Anthony, the teen convicted of fatally stabbing a rival athlete at a track meet.
Get out of the roadway, you're going to jail!
Protests erupted in June when a jury found Anthony guilty of murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf from an opposing team at a high school track meet. Anthony getting into an altercation with Metcalf after he went under the victim's tent during that meet. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison.
So your first name is Karmelo?
At trial, the prosecution and defense made a gentleman's agreement to focus on only what happened underneath that tent. The prosecution says allegations including that the victim and his brother had racist and violent behavior and allegations that Anthony sent his girlfriend threatening text was excluded from the jury. But some of that evidence surfaced just this week.
I don't think it's stunning to anybody who's watched any part of this trial that the truth is a lot more complicated than we originally thought. And unfortunately, it's a lot uglier than we originally thought. Is it more one-sided than the other? Is it a wash? I think that the public, we know a lot more today than we did going into this.
And with tonight, the Collin County District Attorney said we respect and expected the court's decision denying the motion for a new trial. Now, Anthony's defense has an active appeal. Whit, this is still far from over.
All right, Alex Prochet in Washington for us. Tonight, a federal judge has struck down the Trump administration's visa ban targeting immigrants from 75 countries, including Jordan, Egypt, and nations across Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. The judge ruling the policy was, quote, contrary to law and beyond Secretary of State Marco Rubio's authority. Overseas, a massive fire tearing through one of Russia's biggest logistics hubs after Ukrainian drones struck a warehouse in Samara in Russia's southeast. Harrowing video circulating online shows a drone slamming into the roof, igniting the massive complex. Russian officials say several people were wounded as Ukraine also targeted an oil refinery in the region. There's much more news ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. Dozens of people are now safe after a dramatic rescue in the remote reaches of the Pacific Ocean. A race against time to save 5 dogs trapped inside a hot car in Southern California. And Serena Williams back at the U.S. Open this week with a surprising new partner. Next tonight, a dramatic rescue in the remote Pacific. 27 fishermen escaping a burning vessel and a desperate dash to get them to safety. The Ecuadorian flagged fishing boat caught fire more than 500 miles southwest of the Galapagos Islands, forcing the crew into a life raft. 2 ships rushed to help, rescuing all 27 within 11 hours. A race against time to save 5 dogs trapped inside a hot car. This scene playing out in Newport Beach, California. An animal control officer found the dogs in distress with only slightly cracked windows. The officer broke a window to get them out, and a vet determined their body temperatures had reached potentially deadly levels. But tonight, all the dogs, we're told, are in good condition. Tonight, we remember actor Michael Wright. He's perhaps best known for playing lead vocalist Eddie King in the 1991 Robert Townsend musical drama, The 5 Heartbeats. Born in 1956, he appeared in dozens of films and TV shows, including Sugar Hill and HBO's Oz. Writing on Instagram, his wife said he died August 19th after suffering heart failure. Michael Wright was 70 years old. Still ahead here, the big comeback for Serena Williams and 2 fishermen in Massachusetts reeling in a catch so big it could make history. To the index now, Serena Williams is making a comeback at the U.S. Open, teaming up with world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz in a star-studded mixed doubles duo. The U.S. Tennis Association announced Saturday that Williams and Alcaraz had been given a wild card into the tournament. The mixed doubles main draw begins Tuesday. It will be Williams' first time playing at the Open since 2022. A humanoid robot called Lightning is officially faster than Olympian Usain Bolt, clocking 9.32 seconds in a 100-meter test. There they go. That's faster than Bolt's 2009 world record. It happened today in Beijing at the 2026 World Humanoid Robot Games. This year's games feature more than 2,000 robots from 666 teams across 16 countries. Pretty fast. 2 fishermen pulling in a remarkable catch, a 1,260-pound marlin that can be an East Coast record. It happened Wednesday off Massachusetts. According to the International Game Fish Association, this catch is 142 pounds shy of the world record for a blue marlin caught in 1992 off Brazil. When we come back here, a new tribute for one of basketball's most beloved fans, honoring Sister Jean. Finally tonight, the special honor for one of the world's most memorable basketball fans, Sister Jean.
She was one of America's most beloved college basketball fans, Sister Jean Dolores Schmidt.
Good and gracious God.
Chaplain for the Loyola University men's basketball team in Chicago, becoming an international sensation during the 2018 NCAA tournament when her Ramblers reached the Final Four.
And the dream is alive!
Sadly, last year, she passed away at 106 years old. Yesterday, on what would have been her 107th birthday, this statue of Sister Jean was unveiled on the campus of Loyola University.
The sculpture is made of cast bronze and will endure the elements for thousands of years to come, no matter what kind of weather comes this way.
The sculptor designed the statue of Sister Jean sitting on a low bench with a basketball in her hand, so anyone could come sit next to her, take a picture, and maybe leave with a little comfort.
Even though she's not here physically, like her presence is still so prominent here.
Students grateful for the legacy she leaves behind, motivated to keep her can-do spirit alive.
So I hope, like, as upperclassmen, we can still continue to have that impact on the underclassmen, because that was her whole goal and what she preached here.
Tonight, Sister Jean, in her own words, her dream of becoming a sister and a teacher began early.
My dream started when I was in 3rd grade.
This new statue, a memorial to her love of sports and people. Sister Jean, still inspiring for generations to come.
I think sports are very important because they help develop life skills. And during those life skills, you're also talking about faith and purpose.
The words of Sister Jean we will remember. I'm Whit Johnson in New York. Have a good night.
David Muir, the most trusted, most watched newscast in America. And now, World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 4th year in a row.